Well, hi everybody, and welcome to Euro Project's 2024 Strategic Salary Survey. Well, judging by the amount of people that are coming on the call and the great response that we had, I think it's fair to say that pay rises, a salary survey for the engineering, manufacturing and technology sector has never been more important. We've been in business nearly 30 years, and I can't remember a time when it has been such a hot topic. So we are going to record this. We can share it with you afterwards. There is a great report that we have published in extreme detail that you can download afterwards from our website. We'll share details on how you can do that. But let's go through and find out what's been going on in 2023 and what's going to hopefully happen that we can plan for in 2024. So a little bit of background of Euro Projects, just so you can understand who you're dealing with if you haven't dealt with us before, and why we can tell you all about what's going on in this marketplace. Well, it's because we've been going for 30 years. We're a technical and executive recruitment business, but we started out in engineering and management consultancy, working on high-value European funded projects, hence the name Euro Projects. But we've been doing recruitment exclusively for nearly 3 decades. We predominantly work in the engineering and manufacturing sectors, and my colleagues and I at Euro Projects combine over 150 years expertise in this marketplace. We also cover all recruitment activities, so we recruit permanent, contract and interim appointments. And on average, we're placing around 300 people in these sectors every year. But in order to place 300 people in these sectors, we're reviewing upwards of 20,000 candidates. So that's a great data source that we can share with you, because everybody that we are currently talking to is either in a job or they've got 2 or 3 other offers or other jobs that they're interviewing for. So we're gathering that data all the time. And we're all about sharing our insights. So that's what today is all about for us to share with you. So we're going to look at the critical highlights of 2023, what's been going on and what's shaped where we are now and what's going to happen going ahead. What are the roles that are currently in demand? What roles were in demand that have now softened a little bit? What else have you got to offer? What are the soft employee benefits should you be considering? And what are the other compensation package benefits that you need to add? We're then going to look in a little bit more detail in specific sectors, disciplines and departments within your organisation, so you can see what the trends are and what's going on. And then we're going to look at what you need to be doing to try and recruit and retain the best people in 2024 and beyond. So 2023, anybody that's been recruiting during 2023 is going to say, wow, what a year, and probably glad that it's over. But leading up to 2023, we had this huge recruiting frenzy. We were post-pandemic, everyone had been in decline, and then the economy shot up. And for the last 12 months, it's been stabilising and hopefully steadying, but it's not been without its problems. But we did notice in the first quarter of 2023 that permanent vacancies started to decline, but overall vacancies didn't. They were replaced by temporary hiring as confidence in the market to take permanent people on started to reduce, but jobs still needed to be done. Inflation was still high. It wasn't at its 11.1 peak of the October before, but it was still high and it was still fueling pay pressure. And in January of 2023, 17.4% of manufacturing businesses reported a staff shortage. And as a result of this, what we saw, which initially we found quite amazing, but then became almost the norm, was that counter-offers to keep those key people that were threatening to leave your business reached up to 40%. Permanent vacancies then in Q2 started to decline and temp roles started to drop off. And the average pay increase during that period of 2023 was around 8%. That's when most people gave out their annual pay award in April, and 8% was typically across the board for the year. But certain sectors did start to dip off. IT, construction, and retail demand weakened, but engineering remained extremely strong. And most companies on here will have some engineering within their business. Engineering continues to remain strong and will continue to remain strong. There just aren't enough engineers. During the second half of 2023, economic uncertainty did weaken demand, and we did start to see a 2.5-year low in starting salaries. Succession planning was still a key driver for all senior appointments, and the great retirement, as I'm calling it, not the great resignation, was still ongoing, and lots of people saying, look, I want to leave early, I've got enough in my pension to allow me to do this. So it was creating more demand for senior people. And engineering staff just continued to be in demand and remain positive, albeit not at such a high level. And then towards the end of last year, which isn't that long ago, the number of open job vacancies was 949,000. It had peaked at 1.1 million the year before. Now 949,000, it's still 25% higher than it was before the pandemic. Manufacturing wages grew at 8.2% across that year. This was only eclipsed by the financial services sector, who came in at 9.4%. So it just shows how important manufacturing wages needed to grow by, but also many manufacturing companies were impacted by the increases in national minimum wage, and then the knock-on effect that that had rippling up through the organisation from the bottom. We then started to see that competition for talent began to dampen, but candidates are sitting tight in comfort. And what I mean by this is candidates have had their pay rise. Some of them have had 40%, as we looked earlier on. So they don't now need to move. There's still huge competition for those people, but what are you offering to get them to move? And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the state of the market during the course of this presentation. So where are we now and looking ahead? Well, as we sit here today, inflation seems to have settled in at around the 4% mark. We are seeing an increase in internal promotions to retain key members of staff. So those people that are leaving because of succession planning, that are retiring, rather than you replacing them from outside of your organisation, we are seeing most firms, if they've got the talent internally, trying to promote people so that they can retain their services and also avoid having to go out to the market and the additional increase of cost that that will take. Now, we've done a lot of surveying of our marketplace over the last 2 or 3 months, finding out what companies are going to be offering as a pay rise this year. And what we're finding is most are looking at following the consumer price index, which when I wrote this was 4.6%. As we move towards April, the new national living wage is going to increase to £11.44 for over 21s. And most of you may know that the government is scrapping the band between 21 and 23, which means that more people are going to fall into the bracket of receiving the £11.44 minimum wage. Now, that's not just those people that are going to get that pay increase, but anyone that is slightly above that grade, they are going to want to be differentiated from a minimum wage for their additional skills and experience. And so there will be a knock-on effect at lower levels. Many companies, they will have spent their budget for pay rises on keeping their key people and also giving large across-the-board pay rises. So what we're likely to see this year is a more sniper-based approach. If you've got great people that you want to keep, you're likely to have to ring-fence them and give them a special pay rise to retain their critical expertise. Those companies with good reserves that have done really well and have a continued demand for talent, they're telling us that they will give a 7% pay increase this year. That's about as high as it's gone. But what we are hearing is that it's going to be a discerning pay increase. They're going to overpay the people that are really important to them, that are performing well, and they're not going to be as generous with lower performing members of staff. Towards the second half of this year, looking at the economic reports and forecasts, we think that job security and job prospects are likely to start replacing pay as a key to attracting talent. And this is because the economy isn't going to be doing so well and many companies aren't going to be doing so well. So if you can offer job security as a key potential benefit, then you're more likely to get somebody who's currently working for a company where they feel it's unstable. Soft benefits are going to become far more important. We are still hearing that hybrid working is a really important benefit that people are looking to have within their role. Upskilling, most people are looking to be trained and have investment in technology training for themselves. And the other thing that I'm going to come on to in more detail later is candidates are looking for a match with their values. A stagnant economy is going to reduce a demand for staff, and we think that looking at the economic reports, it won't be until late 2025, early 2026 that the economy starts to recover. It's now, therefore, a really good time to start to try and find and recruit those people for your business so that they are trained and ready to go when the market does improve. As we mentioned earlier, we think that early retirement is going to affect the available skills within the workplace. I think if it's a tough economy and people are finding it difficult at work and they are able to leave because they've got pensions that will enable them to retire sooner, they're more likely to take it. We have several clients that have got key skills that are very traditional, that haven't been coming through in recent years. I'm thinking tool makers particularly. They've got tool makers that are already over the age of retirement, and in order to keep them within their business, they're having to offer very flexible working plans, different hours of work, in order to retain those people's employment for longer. With the drop in the economy, and I'm afraid a very bad hangover from the cash flow problems caused by the pandemic, we are seeing a lot more mergers and acquisitions activity and a lot of private equity funding in order to try and keep certain businesses afloat. Now, although the executive market is down, we are seeing that if you are a turnaround executive and particularly working on an interim basis, you are more likely to be in demand because companies that are buying businesses want someone to go in there and realize the return on their investment as soon as possible. And the other area that we see is going to gather momentum is sales and business development roles. These are going to surge because companies that still want to grow in a stagnant economy are going to have to look at new ways to increase their market share. So that is what we consider is likely to happen during 2024. In terms of in and out of demand roles, where we are seeing a huge demand at the moment, it's for operations directors and managers who are going to make efficiencies within your business and are going to be able to add to your bottom line straight away. There's no doubt lots of HR managers on this call. We've been inundated with HR roles during the course of 2023. That's not dropping off. And I think it's fair to say that HR really came to the fore during the pandemic, managing redundancies, furloughs, people suddenly having to work remotely. Now, that then continues into other areas of hybrid working, having to keep up with retaining people, recruiting people. So HR is an area that we've seen a huge demand for. As I mentioned, sales engineers and managers to help grow market share, electronics engineers, design engineers, R&D engineers, anyone with the word engineer in the title. There just hasn't been enough for 30 years. So that's going to be an issue that we're going to have to live with probably for the rest of our careers. Skilled production operatives, they are very much in demand at the moment. Quality assurance people, and I'm delighted to see that a lot of our customers are going down the apprentice route in order to be able to develop their talent for the future. Anybody that's focusing on turnaround, cost down, new business, integration and succession planning is in demand. Softening demand, finance and accounting people, supply chain project managers, they really peaked in 2022 and 2023. That peak is now coming down for those roles. Administration and graduates, again, you couldn't get graduates 12 months ago. I was speaking to someone at a Bank of England seminar, and they recruit 750 graduates every year. So far that year, they've managed to get 200. I think that's shifting now. There are more graduates available. The reduced demand is more along the lines of marketing, IT and systems engineering, strategic type forward-looking executive managers that aren't going to have that immediate impact, and those roles that seem that will never come back, like receptionists and certain customer service roles. Now, another thing that we're quite keen to look at is the overall benefits that you offer your employees and people that you're offering jobs to, because it's not necessarily always just about salary. And one of the things that we're seeing is pensions have gone up slightly. The low average sort of offer being 4 to 5%, high we're seeing as 6%. Executives on average are being offered a 10% contribution by their employer, high around the 12.5%. Holidays, that really has shifted. We've been banging the drum with our clients for many years that they should be offering a minimum of 25 in order to attract the best people. I'm afraid you've got to now. There aren't many companies out there that aren't. And if you want to keep people or you want to get the right people, that is the industry standard. High is about 27 days. And for executive roles, the average is 27 days. Death in service, that's not changed particularly. It's 3 times annual salary. And healthcare, again, that hasn't really changed. Not many more companies are offering it because of the cost of doing so, which has gone up extremely high within the last 2 years. But where it is offered, it's usually for mainstream employees, employee only, at executive level, employee and family. So I'm just going to take a quick drink and we're going to review some specific roles. Executive pay. Well, as we said, succession planning is what's driving new appointments within this area. And these roles are being backfilled by potential rising stars within the organisation. If you haven't got them, you've obviously got to go out for people. And if you are going out for people, we are seeing that it's likely to be someone who is going to make an immediate turnaround impression on your business. Ops management roles, they are the ones that have increased disproportionately. And I'm going to come back onto that, but it's about driving productivity and efficiency and bottom line results for your organisation. And these people in ops management roles, they have seen an increase in their value from 26 to 33% on top of salary from 2019. So these roles really have had a resurgence. At the lower level within manufacturing and operations, we've talked about it already. We've seen that the national living minimum wage has gone up and it's had a knock-on effect. Any area of the business where process improvements, reducing costs, that's driving demand. And during 2023, we saw this 8.2% overall average pay award. Technical and engineering roles, well, there weren't many out there, and we had fewer during 2023, and that hasn't really changed much so far this year in 2024. It's a drastically under-resourced profession, has been for many years, which is why it's so great to see many companies investing in graduates and apprentices. What we were finding before the pandemic is that for most engineering roles, we might have 2 or 3 candidates. Since the pandemic, we've probably had 1 or 2. Before the pandemic, those 2 or 3 candidates probably had 1 or 2 other job offers, and they may have had a counter offer. Post-pandemic, we have seen that they've had 3 or 4 or even more job offers and a guaranteed counter offer. And as we said earlier, that could reach 40%. Going forward, the bottom line is above average pay for engineers if you want to compete for their talent. Program and project management, well, this is closely aligned in some cases to operational improvement. And although this has peaked and started to come down, if you are recruiting project managers to support technical functions, particularly where there is a cost-saving element, these people are still very much in demand for businesses. Over the course of the last 2 years, there were several very large infrastructure projects, and these do continue to absorb talent. Although longer term, with HS2 being cancelled, it's likely that there will be more people coming out of that project onto the open market. But globally, the industry professional body believes that by 2027, internationally, there will be a need for 87 million project managers. Another profession that saw a huge peak due to the supply chains breaking down during COVID is purchasing and supply chain. Now, those supply chains have continued to be disrupted by global conflict and climate change. But we are seeing less demand for purchasing and supply chain within smaller businesses. Some companies that export a lot, it's really important that we've got good people that can navigate these post-Brexit administration. And many companies, because of the disruption that they've received, are having to go into a lot more detail to look at the risk assessment of a supplier and manage their sustainability. Long term, and within bigger businesses, the complexity of this role and this department is just increasing. They are moving towards becoming a business analysis team, lots of predictive analysis and data-driven decision-making. And that is shaping a different kind of person that you need for your business longer term in this area. Sales and marketing, we've seen a huge resurgence in sales engineers because everybody wants to do business face-to-face again. But paradoxically, internal salespeople are also very much in demand because we created new business practices when we were having to work remotely. A flat economy is still requiring people that want to maintain growth to go out there and get more sales. And in order to get the people that are going to drive your sales forward, we have seen a big shift in basic salaries going up to retain and attract the best talent. Finance and accounting, this went off the scale during the pandemic. That demand again has now eased, but we're still seeing a real demand for finance professionals with experience of packing up a business ready for sale, or doing any type of merger and acquisition activity, or supporting a PE investor, private equity investor. Investor relations is a critical part of this job, but if your organization is buying or being bought, then business integration and reporting key metrics to the new owners is also a really important area for finance professionals at the moment. And as we mentioned earlier on, human resources and health and safety has seen a huge resurgence in demand. You're having to work on hybrid and remote working practices. That's still a big important area going forward. Recruitment, retention, inflation-driven salary planning, all these things are still very much a hot topic. And then as the economy potentially does slow down, headcount reduction and having to performance management people in a slow economy is likely to be another key area. We don't see demand in HR dropping anytime soon. An area where generally IT support has dropped off, it's because I think working practices to get people working remotely with new infrastructures has stabilised, or people have gone back to their place of work. Where there is an immediate need, automating systems and using things like SAP and ERP in manufacturing businesses particularly is really important. We are not yet seeing a large number of roles created because of artificial intelligence, but I believe that that will be what drives IT positions going forward, and technology is growing faster than available resources. So if you haven't already and you feel a future need, now's a great time to get your IT support people on board. And finally, we do also cover administration roles, and we saw these drop off a cliff during the pandemic, but those pre-pandemic business structures are now beginning to return. It's come back very healthily. There is a lot of admin support required for overstretched support for technical experts or senior people who just don't have enough hours in the day to do their own work. If you are recruiting admin people, what we are seeing a real demand for are those multi-talented people that can support several senior managers or several technical experts, potentially across lots of disciplines. So it's not uncommon for us to hear a chief executive say, I want a PA, but they've also got to be able to look after our marketing function. So how are you going to recruit and retain the best people in 2024? Well, this is what we are seeing as successful processes at the moment and what you need to build into your processes. So in order to get a wider pool of candidates, building flexibility, that might mean part-time, it might mean graduate, it might mean remote working, it might mean hiring people that aren't quite where you need them to be, but getting them in and training them up. Plan to recruit someone over a 2 to 3 month period. There are going to be fewer people out there to choose from. You still need to be discerning, move quickly when you get the right person, but expect it to take longer. As I mentioned earlier, you can expect fewer candidates, but now hopefully things are going to rebalance and those candidates will have less opportunity elsewhere, less choice. So you can have fewer candidates, but they are also going to have fewer options. Your competition is going to be down. Maintain communication throughout your process. Treat your candidates like customers. That's the main point that I'll leave you with there. Always recruit for values and cultural fit. It's a big thing to make sure that you get people stick with your organization, and make sure that you have someone in your business who is responsible for making recruitment happen. And that's not just on an individual recruitment assignment or making that one person become an employee. It's about how you look to the wider market. What does your social media profile say about your business? So make sure that everybody is looking at doing that for your organization, but someone is coordinating it. And demonstrate positivity throughout the recruitment process. We're going to be in a downbeat economy. If you can start talking about upbeat things, you are going to stand out as an employer. And what about your proposition? And don't forget, we've got this new generation of people coming into the market in 2024 who have a slightly different expectation. Well, first of all, anyone who's in an insecure employer is going to be looking for job security. So job security is very much back in demand. Offer personal growth. Anyone that's going to invest in someone to make them better than they were before is going to be seen as a key employer. The new generation of people coming into the marketplace, they are looking at how your business benefits the community and the environment. So really make sure that you're identifying the value that you can offer in these areas and how that aligns to somebody's job in your business. You've still got to offer highly competitive salaries. There's going to be a lot of competition out there still offering good money. demonstrate your investment in technology, demonstrate your training and development, particularly in the area of technology to individuals. And again, the new generation of people coming onto the market are easily distracted, or so they are telling me. So keep things interesting, keep things diverse, and have a good turnover of different projects that they can get involved in. So in summary, money is still a reason to move for most people, but most people have already had a pay rise. So you've got to look for something that goes over and above that. Candidates are going to be more risk averse, so they're going to feel more secure. If they're in a good company at the moment, you've got to look for reasons of security to move them forward to your business. Candidate motivation is most likely to centre on personal growth. Candidates are now telling us that they are more interested in the cultural and values fit of their next employer. So for many years, good employers, good clients that we worked with have all said, we want someone that's going to fit in with our culture and values. Well, in a way, it's a good thing, but individuals are now asking us to find them an employer that matches their culture and values. So it's equally important to your candidates as it is to you. We have had the media ramming pay rise and inflation reports down our neck for the last 12 months. So candidates are now very pay rise and inflation aware. So you've got to make sure that you're building that into your proposition. And although we're going to be in this slower economy for the next, let's say, 18 months, you've got to keep growing and developing your new talent for a predicted economic improvement late 2025, early 2026. So I hope that you have found what we've just shared with you of value and extremely beneficial. And one of the reasons why we do this is because we want to remain relevant to our customers throughout your entire process. And that could be helping you decide what you need to pay, or it could be finding you the right person. Well, we're delighted to say that 100% of the people that we place would recommend us, and that becomes a very unique source of candidates that we can share with you. 96% of our business comes from repeat customers. And as I say, we've been in business 28 years, and I can see that there's someone from a business on this call that was our very first customer ever. So that's great that we're still working with you. Thank you very much. In a market where we've had lots of churn of people, where there's been people taking a job, lasting 6 months, then going somewhere else for a pay rise, or being tempted back to their old company, we are still getting 81% of the people that we place to be in post 12 months later. And we're doing that because we're helping you manage the risk within the recruitment process, particularly by ensuring that strong cultural fit for the future. And above all, our mission is just to be a really friendly, professional and high quality service, not just to you, our clients, but to our candidates as well. So we are here to help. We've got this report that you can download off our website. It's full of really detailed information that I haven't even gone into with you today, but just to give you a sample of what you can expect to see, here is a list of job roles and the kind of pay that you need to be offering those people depending on where they sit within your organisation and within the country. So packed with really detailed information on all the key areas that we've talked about. And of course, if we can be of help to you growing your business in the future with more people, we'd be delighted to hear from you. At the back of the report, we also have a list of people that work at Euro projects that you can call. Their numbers are on the back there with their email addresses. Contact them directly about their specific area that you would like some help with. But in the meantime, I hope that's been of great value to you, and we wish you all the best, and bye for now. Thank you very much.